Hi, boys and girls. It's me, Miss Scott. And we are reading Little House in the Big Woods. And when we last left Mom, Pa, Laura, Mary, and Carrie, Pa had had a good day of trapping and he came home early to play with the girls and he was playing Mad Dog. Before we get started, I just want to say hello to some of my friends. I want to say hi to Nyla and hi to Branton and hi to Austin and who else? Who else sits at table two? It was Destiny, Branton, Jacob Pierce. Nope. Hi guys. I just want to say I love you and I miss you. And it's good to see everybody. I hope I can see you soon. But if not, we'll keep reading like this until then. Mary, Pa, and Ma, and Laura, and baby Carrie were comfortable and happy there, especially at night. And they're talking about in the cabin. They were happy in the cabin. Then the fire was shining on the hearth, and the cold and the dark and the wild beast were all shut out. And Jack the Brindle Bulldog and the Black Susan the cat lay blinking at the flames in the fireplace. Ma sat in her rocking chair, sewing by the light of the lamp by the table. The lamp was bright and shiny. There was salt on the bottom of the glass bowl with the kerosene, to keep the kerosene from exploding, and there were bits of red flannel amongst the salt to make it pretty. It was pretty. Laura loved to look at the lamp with its glass chimneys so clean and sparkling, its yellow flame burning so steadily, and its bowl of clear kerosene colored red by the bits of flannel. She loved to look at the fire in the fireplace, flickering and changing all the time, burning yellow and red and sometimes green above the logs and hovering blue over the golden and ruby coals. And then Pa told stories. When Laura and Mary begged him for a story, he would take them on his knee and tickle their faces with his long whiskers until they laughed aloud. His eyes were blue and merry. One night, Pa looked at Black Susan stretching herself before the fire and running her claws out and in, and he said, "Do you know that a panther is a cat? A great big wild cat?" "No," said Laura. "Well, it is," said Pa. "Just imagine. Black Susan bigger than Jack and fiercer than Jack when he growls. Then he would be just like a panther." He settled Laura and Mary more comfortably on his knees and he said, "I'll tell you about your grandpa and the panther." "Your grandpa?" Laura asked. "No, Laura, your grandpa. My father." "Oh," Laura said as she wiggled closer against Pa's arm. She knew her grandpa. He lived far away in the big woods in a big log house. Pa began. Picture. The story of the Black Panther. The story of Grandpa and the Black Panther. Your grandpa went to town one day and was late starting home. It was dark when he came riding his horse through the big woods, so dark that he could hardly see the road. And when he heard a panther scream, he was frightened, for he had no gun. "How does a panther scream?" Laura asked. "Like a woman," Pa said. "Like this." Then he screamed so that Laura and Mary shivered with terror. Ma jumped in her chair and said, "Mercy, Charles!" But Laura and Mary loved to be scared like that. "The horse with Grandpa on him ran fast, for it was frightened too. But it could not get away from that panther. The panther followed through the dark woods. It was a hungry panther, and it came as fast as the horse could run. It screamed now on this side of the road, now on the other side, and it was always close behind. Grandpa leaned forward in the saddle and urged the horse to run faster. The horse was running as fast as it could possibly run, and still the panther screamed close behind. Then Grandpa caught a glimpse of it as it leaped from treetop to treetop, almost overhead. It was a huge black panther, leaping through the air like Black Susan leaping on a mouse. It was many, many times bigger than Black Susan. It was so big that it was leaping on Grandpa. It could kill him with its enormous slashing claws and its long, sharp teeth. I don't have Riley here to get my coffee for me. Hang on. We always have to have coffee, don't we? All right, where were we? Grandpa on his horse was run away from it just as a mouse runs away from a cat. The panther did not scream anymore. Grandpa did not see it anymore, but he knew that it was coming, leaping after him in the dark woods behind him. The horse ran with all of its might. At last, the horse ran up to Grandpa's house. Grandpa saw that panther springing. Grandpa jumped off that horse against the door. He burst through the door and slammed it behind him. The panther landed on the horse's back just where Grandpa had been. The horse screamed terribly and ran. He was running away into the big woods with a panther riding on his backside and ripping his back with his very claws. But Grandpa grabbed his gun from the wall and got to the window just in time to shoot that panther dead. Grandpa said he would never again go into the big woods without a gun. Picture. There's Grandpa riding the horse and the panther chasing after him. When Pa told this story, Laura and Mary shivered and snuggled closer to him. They were safe and snug on his knee with his strong arms around them. They liked to be there before the warm fire with Black Susan purring on the hearth and the good dog Jack stretching out beside her. When they heard a wolf howl, Jack's head lifted. His hairs rose stiff along his back. But Laura and Mary listened to the lonely sound in the dark and the cold in the big woods, and they were not afraid. They were cozy and comfortable in their little house made of logs, with the snow drifted around it and the wind crying because it was cold. It could not get in by the fire. Chapter 3, The Long Rifle. And here's a picture. We'll start off with that. Every evening before he began to tell stories, Pa made the bullets for his next day's hunting. Laura and Mary helped him. They brought the big, long-handled spoon and the box full of bits of lead and the bullet mold. Then, while he squatted on the hearth to make the bullets, there sat one on each side of him watching. First, he melted down the little bits of lead in this big spoon held in the coals. Then the lead was melted. He poured it carefully from the spoon into the little hole in the bullet mold. He waited a minute. Then he opened the mold and out dropped a bright new bullet onto the hearth. The bullet was too hot to touch, but it shone so temptingly that sometimes Laura and Mary could not help touching it. Then they burned their fingers, but they did not say anything because Pa had told them never to touch a new bullet. If they burned their fingers, that was their own fault. They should have minded him. So they put their fingers in their mouth to cool them and watch Pa make more bullets. There would be a shining pile of them on the hearth before Pa stopped. He let them cool, then with his jackknife he trimmed off the little lumps left over by the hole in the mold. He gathered up the tiny shavings of lead and saved them carefully to melt again the next time he made bullets. The finished bullet he put into his bullet pouch. This was a little bag which Ma had made out of beautiful buckskin from a buck Pa had shot. After the bullets were made, Pa would take his gun down from the wall and clean it. Out in the snowy woods all day, it might have gathered a little dampness, and inside of the barrel was sure to be dirty from the powder smoke. So Pa would take the ramrod from its place under the gun barrel and fasten a piece of clean cloth under it. He stood the butt of the gun in a pan on the hearth and poured boiling water from the tea kettle into the gun barrel. Then quickly he dropped the ramrod in the rubbed it up and down and up and down, while the hot water blackened with powder smoke spewed out through the little hole on which the cap was placed when the gun was loaded. Pa kept pouring in more water and washed the gun barrel with the cloth on the ramrod until the water ran out clear. Then the gun was clean. The water must always be boiling so that the heated steel would dry instantly. Then Pa put a clean, greased rag on the ramrod, and while the gun barrel was still hot, he greased it well on the insides. When another clean greased cloth was rubbed up, with another clean greased cloth, he rubbed it all over, outside, until every bit of it was oiled and sleek. After that, he rubbed the polished and gun stock until the wood of it was bright and shining too. Now, he was ready to load the gun again, and Laura and Mary must help him. Standing straight and tall, holding the long gun upright on its butt, while Laura and Mary stood on either side of him, Pa said, "You watch me now, and tell me if I make a mistake." So they watched very carefully, but he never made a mistake. Laura handed him the smooth, polished cow horn full of gunpowder. The top of the horn was a little metal cap. Pa filled this cap full of gunpowder and poured the powder down the barrel of the gun. Then he shook the gun a little and tapped the barrel to be sure that all the powder was together at the bottom. "Where's my patch box?" he asked then, and Mary gave him the little tin box full of little pieces of greased cloth. Pa laid one of these bits of greased cloth over the muzzle of the gun, put one of the shiny new bullets on it, and with the ramrod, he pushed the bullet and the cloth down into the gun barrel. This is called a black powder gun. These are not like the guns that we have today. This was an old-timey gun. And it took a lot of work. You could make your own bullets from a gun. Amazing, right? Then he poured them tightly into the powder. When he hit them with the ramrod bounced up in the gun barrel and Pa caught it and thrust it down again. He did this for a long time. Next, he put the ramrod back in its place against the gun barrel. Then, taking the box of caps from his pocket, he raised the hammer of the gun and slipped one of the little bright caps over the hollow pins that was under the hammer. So, we're going to stop right there today, boys and girls. Thank you for reading with me. Love you. Keep listening for new stories. Have a great day.